Hello everybody, this is Mr. Regner, and I wanted to share with you your spooky story creative writing assignment. This is a little bit different, so I wanted to make sure I explain this in the video. I'll also explain it in class, but if you have any questions, always feel free to ask me. So first up, you'll notice there's quite a few slides here as a part of this assignment. If I scroll here on the left side, you'll see all these slides. Some of these slides we'll use, and some of them are more informational for you to use as you will. So our first slide gives you the rubric. So you can see that we're going to be earning a total of 10 points for this assignment. The next slide, slide 2, just has some instructions, which I'm going to go over here in this video, but you can feel free to look at the slides here to help you out as well. So slide number 3 is really the first slide where we have something to do. You'll notice that our slide here is in the middle, and then we have all these extra little things off to the side of our slide. That sounds like a tongue twister almost. So I'm going to be looking for, and I have all these different options to choose from, and so I can choose any of them. Maybe I like this one that says you see strange shadows dancing on the floor or the ground. I can click it, I can drag it over here, and put it here in the middle. And that's all I'm going to be doing. I'm going to click any one of these and drag it here in the middle. That's going to be the problem that I'm going to use in my story. We'll see that again in slide 4. It says pick your setting. It says drag your setting here, and so I'm going to drag my setting there. Maybe I like the idea of a cemetery. Ooh, spooky. So I drag that picture right there, and then it's going to ask me to answer some questions. Now I could type, click here and type about my 5 senses to describe my setting, but it's probably going to be easier or easiest to use a zoom tool. It looks like a magnifying glass. Right, so if I click that, I can literally click, click, click to zoom in, or I can click like 100%, and that's going to make it the size that's going to be easier for me to see. I can go back to fit, and on your Chromebook screens, I would imagine it's probably going to be a little bit hard to see everything all at once without zooming out. All right, so I'm just going to click away from that, go back to fit. Oops, boy, I keep clicking the wrong thing here. Click away from the magnifying glass and move that back just so it's all reset. Same thing is on slide 5. It says that we want to add some characters. So think about what characters you might add for your story. And there's a big giant host of them. You'll notice like there's a boy here and another boy here because you might have 2 boys in your story. Same with a girl. And so you can obviously pick your characters and add them to the slides. We're going to have some scary items that you're going to include in your story. And so there's quite a few options here. And you can imagine, hopefully, how your story might play out if there's, let's say, a jar of eyeballs. Ooh, I can only imagine what your story might be like. If you had slime in your story, oh my goodness, I can only imagine how you might incorporate slime. The next slide is slide 7, and it gives you a chance to kind of summarize your story. So I might need to zoom in for this one again to type into each one of these boxes. What's your title going to be? What is your setting? What is the problem? What are the characters? And what items are you going to include? We can even sort it out by beginning, middle, and end. So what's going to happen in the beginning? What's going to happen in the middle? What's going to happen at the end? We're just kind of pre-planning our story. Here's some sensory words that you might even recognize from when you described the setting, but sensory words don't have to be just about the setting. Maybe this is going to include some of those scary items that you included, or the characters. Think about what you might see, smell, touch, hear, and taste. Those sensory words help to describe what's happening in your story. In case you're not sure, here's a good list of words that you can look at. It's probably hard to see here on my screen, so you might need to zoom in. And we can use this yellow box, and watch this. I can click it. Maybe I like this word right here, salty. I can highlight that word salty, right? That way I know I want to use that word. And I'll take it back just to reset it, but there's a bunch of highlighted boxes here, so you can highlight any of those words that you think you'd like to use for your story. Same is true for vivid verbs. You'll see a lot of really vivid verbs that maybe you can incorporate in your story. You don't have to use these ones necessarily, but maybe this will kind of give you some ideas of what type of verbs you might use. You can highlight them again by clicking and dragging. We have some transition words here. This always helps to kind of transition from one thing to the next, so you could check that out for sure. We have great beginnings, so some kind of fun ways to maybe begin your story. Again, these are all options. You don't have to start your story with these examples, but there's some good ideas up here on how you might start your story in kind of a fun, creative way that really pulls your reader right into the action. We have some emotions words. These are always good. If you're writing a spooky story, I would imagine there might be some emotions happening from your characters or in that story. And so maybe these emotion words might help to be able to add them to your story. We have some character traits. Boy, this is really hard for me to see. So again, that zoom in option is a good idea. We can always zoom in on that and see those character traits a little bit easier. That might be handy to kind of put into your story and use as a part of your spooky story. We've got some spooky words. Oh my gosh, I just saw cackle and I thought immediately of a witch laughing, right? I see the word growl, I think of like a werewolf. So depending on what your story's about or what your characters are, those spooky words might come in handy. We've got a checklist for you that you can use. And look at this, we can even drag a check mark onto the box to prove that you've got it right. All right, so you want to make sure you're catching your reader's attention, that you have suspense and action, that you're using sensory words, that you have vivid verbs, that you're using correct spelling, capitalization, and punctuation, and that your story is scary. Ooh, right, if you've got those things, you're probably in great shape. Now here on slide 18, we have this really nice border. It says title, by, and then your story, right? Same thing on 19, same thing on 20, all the way to 25. It's just different backgrounds for your story. You can choose the background that you like the best, and you can type your story there. Now, if you don't use any of the other ones, you can just delete the other ones because we don't really need them. All right, so that's kind of the way we're going to set up and write our scary story. Be sure to use those spooky words, those vivid verbs, those great sensory details. That's going to make your story even better. If you have questions as you're working on it, please feel free to ask me, but hopefully this sets you up so you can be successful with this assignment. Good luck.